Can everybody welcome to today's video? Today's video, I'm going to do or try out a new series where I'm going to answer people's questions or I'm going to troll them. And I'm going to call this series... Put the bolt in the hole! That being said, let's read off some questions and see where we're going to go. Because we're going to go down the motherfucking rabbit hole right here. First question's going to be, why does the music have to be 3 times louder than when you talk? Because when you're wearing earphones, I want to blast your motherfucking eardrums. Now there's a couple comments that are based on this next one, and then a third comment that's a troll. The first one is, could have put a bend into it where the drive shaft went instead of lowering it. Why didn't you just go straight across with the bend in the pipe in the middle? We're all going to get down to this. And then the troller comment goes, wow, it's just fugly. You can't polish a fucking turd. I wouldn't show anyone that cross member, let alone build that a couple bends would have cleaned it up immensely. Well, excuse me, Mr. Troll fucking loser. Obviously, you never bent any kind of fucking tubing in your life. So the outside diameter is about 1.5 inches. So now that I gave you the diameter, you could go on Google in your mom's basement and look it up. Put bolt in the hole! Now the transmission support mount is butted up right against the end here. So distance between there to the middle of the bolt, which isn't the radius of the tube, which would be more like the outside. So let's go 10 inches. 10 inches. So how the fuck are you gonna bend something from here to go to there? You do realize that your bend is determined by the size of the tube you're using, the wall thickness, and the material that it's made out of. Plus, your bend is limited to what your die can actually bend it to. If you're using those Harbor Freight ones, you sure ain't gonna make that bend. Sorry to say. But of course, fucking armchair know-it-alls in their mom's basement. So I don't know where you're getting your idea from that you're just gonna make a bend, because this line going straight across, as you can see, the fucking transfer case sits down lower than that. So your tube would have to come out, down, around, and then up. 1.5 inch outside diameter. How the fuck are you gonna pull that off in 10 inches? Yeah, so I don't get the idea where people say you should put a bend in it. Maybe I'll just pull out my imaginary fucking tube bender I got in the corner. Or better yet, maybe I'll just go to Tomcat's crib and use his litter box and my imaginary fucking forge, and I'll just forge a brand new piece bent to the way I want it. There's lots of haters out there, but everybody has their own vision, and they'll build it the way they want. If a person did have a bender, you wouldn't need to buy this kit. You just buy your own tube. You could mount it on the inside of the frame and bend your tube down until it came across. And then you'd have to get funky with this section here, come around, or scoot the plate back, then come through here, whatever. There's many options. A tube bender would definitely come in handy for this kind of stuff. To be a little bit more creative. This comment here is really debatable depending on what your end use is that you want to do with the vehicle you're building in. One person said it hangs too low. Now, however, if you measure the distance straight across from your factory pan down, and then most times if you put in a lift, you have the transfer case drop, so you got to calculate that in as well. I'm only sitting 1/4 inch lower than both of those together. And let's go over that. So I can understand where that comment comes into place. However, the transfer case with the driveline angle that I want to set at is pretty much almost touching the fucking tunnel up top. I don't think I'd be able to get my hand between the tunnel and the transfer case. Now, we already talked about if by chance I did have a bender, which I don't, and could have bent a tube, it's not possible to bend a tube this size to go around, but we already discussed that. So there's many ways that you could build something. You can't put it anywhere in front because of the front drive shaft that has to come down. And of course, with the mount set up there, it makes it difficult to what you're gonna have to do. I did think of clocking it up this way and then shave it across the bottom here, then over. That was one thing I would have done. It probably would have saved me shaved off like an extra inch or so. There is a million ways that you could do it, but I want it to sit this way because of the weight at the tail end is flexing down on these braces. Makes it a little bit more structurally sound. And then if it was more at an angle like this way it's forcing right down on there. If your end goal is like a rock crawler, then obviously you don't want your belly pan or your mount like this to hang down low. However, for me, this Jeep's just going to be for overland use, so that's not of any concern to me, because at the end of the day, you know, the only clearance you really have to worry about is your front pumpkin to the ground. That's the only thing that fucking matters, because once your axle is hitting the ground, it doesn't matter how low this fucking is, because you're already fucking stuck there. So let's move on. Now, one of the things a person could have done is I went on the bottom of the frame rail. He could have went up on the side, but it's not as easy as you think, because the transfer case comes down here, so that bracket doesn't have much room, but you could have shaved a little bit off there. However, the problem lies on the opposite side frame rail, where you got your brake lines, fuel, and evap against the frame. So that's why I went below. I wasn't going to remove brake lines and then remove the fuel lines. You know how brittle those are after been sitting forever, and it wasn't really a big deal for me. This next question is, couldn't you have reclocked the transfer case to clear better? While some aftermarket transfer case adapters will allow you to clock the transfer case a little bit, I think most of my scene have 4 different holes that you can set it on. The factory ones do not. So I got the gasket on this. This is a 4L60 adapter to 231. And what you're going to see here, all the holes line up. So if you were to clock it one space, which would be a huge fucking gap, you can see right there the holes don't line up. What's going on? Fucking just liquored now. Just fucking liquored. Hey? Now, that being said, there is a clocking ring that a person can purchase, which will allow you to make small movements for your transfer case. Even if you could clock the transfer case to go down, you're still not gaining anything, because if you're looking straight across, you would have to clock this way down below this tube. So then your transfer case will be hanging down below where this tube is. So that's not going to help you any. And now, however, that being said, I may look at a clocking ring later on in the future if I can get it up higher, so that the front drive shaft will clear the support beam if I went straight across. But I'm going to revisit this again once I install a body lift closer to the end of the project, and possibly redo this in the very end. This is going to be an interesting comment, this one here. By the time you read this, you probably have already figured out that your cross member might not hold up that well. I'm not trying to give you shit. I love your channels and watch them frequently. That's a lot of weight and stress from a V8 with 2 drive shafts spinning with a substantial amount of torque under there. I'm sure you would agree with me on that. The cross member's gonna need more beef. That's an interesting theory you got there, but let's look at some numbers. So I just pulled these numbers out. For example, a 2003 4.0 has 190 horsepower at 4,600 RPM. The 4.8 has 285 horsepower at 54 RPM. So we're looking at almost 100 horsepower difference, which is quite a bit actually. But I'm not too concerned about that. And the reason for that is, you see the adapter, you do realize it's only bolted onto the cross member with 2 small bolts, right? And I'm not going to troll you. The cross member would not be my biggest concern. You know, my biggest concern, if it was, would be the 2 little small bolts that hold it to the cross member. I'm pretty sure that'll be a weaker point than the cross member itself. That's just my opinion. Anyways, I think it's motherfucking beer time. We got some Rolling Rock for all the trolls out there. Coming in 4.5%. Motherfucking beer time. That's what I'm talking about. There's a million ways to do a job. Everybody is going to see their own vision to make something work. However, this isn't like 20 years ago. Everything you need to know is right here. There's a thing called Google. Push button all. That you just use and you can find out some information. It's so sad that most of the people in society don't know how to fucking use it. There's a wealth of information out there to make good choices and to make some bad choices. It's up to you to do some research and choose which way you're gonna fucking go. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys like this kind of stuff, I may do some more Put the Bolt in the Hole fucking series. I'll talk to you guys in the next video.